Our pleasure to report that Beatle Paul McCartney is alive and well, and as he puts it, unconcerned about the rumors of his death.
Any parent can testify the lifestyle of the Beatles has always been somewhat different. And if you believe current rumor, their style of revealing Paul McCartney's alleged death is being carried out with singular taste.
Paul doesn't have shoes on.
To some, that is a death symbol. Well, there he is. He walks, he talks, he sings. Paul McCartney of the Beatles. He finally got in front of a camera in Glasgow today to put an end to the speculation that he is no longer among the living. He is. And now the whole world has been apprised of that fact.
Is Paul McCartney alive or dead?
Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday.
James Paul McCartney was born on the 18th of June, 1942, in Liverpool. Now, at the age of 27, he is either a millionaire Beatle with a beautiful wife, or he's dead and has been for about 2 years. According to the rumors, he is supposed to have died in a car crash in 1966. The controversy surrounding Paul McCartney was recently the subject of an hour-long report on radio. 5AD's Martin Smith presents the evidence.
Started in Detroit. A group of university students were playing tapes backwards and forwards, different speeds. They gave their evidence to a disc jockey in Detroit. His name was Russ Gibb, and together, collectively, they thought Paul McCartney had died. I understand they still do. So people throughout the world then started to think, well, what has happened? The Beatles have made no live appearances for 3 years. There have been no records for a certain period of time in 1966, when Paul was supposed to have died. I understand he went to Africa at the time, but maybe he did have an accident of some sort. Anyway, the first record that came out after the lull of activity from Apple Records was Strawberry Fields Forever, which I understand Strawberry Fields is a graveyard on a hillside in Liverpool. Other people have told me it's an orphanage down the road from where John Lennon lived, but I think we're both right. I think if they check up as well, Strawberry Fields is definitely a cemetery overlooking Liverpool. The first LP to come out about the same time as Strawberry Fields was the Sgt. Pepper album. The cover of this, as well as some of the songs on it, is very interesting. If you look at the minute detail which is on there, you can find that the Beatles are actually gathered around what looks like a grave. This could be the grave they buried them old Sound of Music in, but it could be the grave that they buried Paul in. He's standing head and shoulders above the rest. He's meant to be a lot shorter. Around his wax model from Madame Tussauds are heads of Marlon Brando, who met a tragic death in The Wild One, and also Tom Mix. He died in a car accident. On the back of the album, Paul has his back to us. On the inside photos, the initials OPD are on his arm. Does that mean, oh, Paul is dead? There's a guitar with left-handed strings, left-handed guitar on the around the grave. He was a left-handed four-string guitarist. So there you are. It goes from one thing to the other. And also musically on the record, at the very end, when the needle is running over the dead surface area, waiting to be taken back by the arm, well then there's a little bit there which caught our attention, and it could be, will Paul be back as Superman? Forwards, it doesn't sound like anything too much, but perhaps backwards, that does come out. There are certain things on the Magical Mystery Tour album as well, visually and music-wise, which proved interesting. For instance, you can look at some of the photos. We're just mentioning Superman. There's a photo in there of Paul as Superman, with Superman at the driving wheel. Paul thought he was the driver. There's also a couple of shots of Paul without his shoes on, which is the mark of a corpse in Italy. His shoes are to the side of him. And the last album, which has been released here in Australia, the Abbey Road album, probably musically we haven't been able to find too much yet. People have read certain things into certain tracks so far. But certainly the cover is rather fascinating. You have the four Beatles walking across Abbey Road, which is where the EMI recording studios are in London, where they record. John Lennon is dressed as a religious figure. Following him is Ringo. He's dressed as an undertaker. Then you've got McCartney. He's out of step and barefoot and dressed in a normal suit, the mark of the corpse again. And then follows up George Harrison as a kind of hippie gravedigger dressed in jeans. Whether this has any significance, I don't know. My theory is, for what it's worth, that Paul was close to dying at some stage. And now, when it's all over and he is better, they, and especially John Lennon, who is known to have this cynical mind, can look back on it and make one big joke out of it.
I told you about the war is a mean man. You know that we're as close as can be, man. Well, here's another clue for you all. The walrus was Paul.
He wasn't there, that he didn't sing part of it or so on, but somebody else was singing at a time when the fans and when the label would indicate that it was Paul McCartney.